One introduction ROSEP view: the United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only. For home building and furniture building, for just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry, and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree, but it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lungs, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, the Eco-Design Wood Stove, and International Convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. ROSEP view: purple air PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary.
Hi, my name is Lily. Andrew gave you the intro to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates and their concern for air pollution from indoor residential wood burning. Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, or ROSEP, would like every near neighbor of an indoor residential wood burner whose wood smoke enters their yards and sickens the near neighbors to have a purple air PM 2.5 monitor hanging from the eaves of their home to measure the level of PM 2.5 entering their yards. That measurement of air pollution should be used as evidence of unnecessary air pollution, and each indoor residential wood burner should be shut down based on that evidence, one indoor residential wood burner at a time if necessary. The presentation by Andrew ended at 2 minutes 5 seconds. The same presentation by Emma starts at 2 minutes 3 seconds before the end of this podcast. So I am Lily, your timekeeper, and you can start the next podcast at 2 minutes 5 seconds in if you would not like to see the presentation by Andrew a second time. This presentation by me, Lily, ends at 5 minutes in. What you will see in the main content of this ROSEP podcast will be news about air pollution from indoor residential wood burning, and how that air pollution is being combated by ordinary people just like you who are unfortunately near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners at this time. There will also be news about unnecessary and highly polluting use of wood as fuel in industrial wood burners and preventable air pollution from wood burning wildfires. There will also be news about air pollution from PM 2.5 from gas-powered cars. There will also be news about airborne diseases which are also preventable with vaccines such as COVID-19 and measles and whooping cough, to name just a few. In 2025, Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates is also concerned with combating the Trump destruction of government funding for programs which protect human health through the Department of Health and Human Services, and Trump destruction of programs which fund the science and medical research plan to protect human health from preventable illnesses. Protecting human health is a patriotic act, and our defense against enemies is weakened if we are not as healthy as we can be. Heat pump rebates are now offered by the federal government, distributed through the eligible United States, are available in 2025, and are the best, cleanest, and now cheapest alternative to indoor residential wood burning if that burning is actually done to purportedly save money. Wind and solar as sources of the electricity that powers heat pumps and electric cars is also cheaper than burning wood. The adverse health effects that are caused by indoor residential wood burning also come at a cost to near neighbors, both in shortening and ending their lives, and in actual hospital, clinic, and funeral costs. Instead of being compensated monetarily, near neighbors should instead be able to achieve immediate relief by stopping indoor residential wood burning in their hyper-localized neighborhoods, which relief readings from purple air PM 2.5 monitors used as evidence of air pollution will help them achieve. Welcome to news about hopeful scientific and medical achievements that will also help us achieve the goal of clean air to breathe.
Webisode 57DHXZT November 26, 2025, wood stoves emit 2.8 times the pollution as coal burning. In Webisode 57DHXZT, 1 United States, could a consumer boycotts of wood-burning stoves work to stop the air pollution? 2. Wisconsin State Supreme Court orders review of Wisconsin congressional maps before 2026 midterms. 3, 4, 5, and 6 headlines main content. 1 United States, could a consumer boycotts of wood-burning stoves work stop the air pollution? Electric vehicles TISA avoidance and protest of the Kimmel temporary cancellation by consumers led to the We Are Not Buying It movement, with a website launched recently called We Ain't Buying It. Rozep asked what steps did volunteers at Hull House circa 1889 take for public health? Response from AI Overview: volunteers at Hull House circa 1889 took several significant steps for public health, including 1. Providing healthcare. Hull House offered access to healthcare and worked to improve sanitation in the neighborhood. Residents often benefited from visiting nurses and health classes. 2. Improving sanitation. The settlement worked to improve sanitation in the neighborhood, which was a significant concern for Hull House. 3. Advocating for public health reforms. Hull House became a meeting ground for discussions on rights of workers and public health reforms, particularly with regards to housing and working conditions for women and children. And 4. Influencing national policy. The work done at Hull House extended well beyond its walls, influencing national policy changes in labor rights, education, and public health. Rozep view: personal opinion. The editor of Rozep has consulted no statistics to determine if men buy or use indoor residential wood burners more than women. Advertising by the wood stove industry seems to the editor of Rozep to appeal to those who would like to use primitive methods of home heating. Rozep has consulted no statistics to determine if women cook for their families in their homes more than men. Advertising by the wood stove industry seems to the editor of Rozep to appeal to those who would like to use primitive methods of home cooking, such as roasting marshmallows and roasting other food items over a wood fire, often only on holidays, due to the great inconvenience and ineffectiveness of cooking over a wood burning fire. The editor of Rozep has consulted no statistics on whether those who prefer heating their homes through the primitive method of wood burning also prefer cooking over that same wood stove. The editor of Rozep consulted no statistics in forming an opinion, concluding that wood burning for home heating and for home cooking is ineffective and more expensive than using clean energy home heating and home cooking methods. This Rozep comment is the sole opinion of the editor of Rozep, and in her opinion is based on common sense. Could this type of movement, like Hull House in 1889 or the We Are Not Going to Buy It movement in 2025, work to change indoor residential wood burners into home heating clean energy users? Could it take the women telling the men they share a household with that we are not buying any more wood for your air polluting wood stove? Could it take the women telling the men they share a household with that we are going to get rid of your air polluting wood stove? Or are the men themselves in those households, because it is after all enlightened 2025, open to the idea that the method of home heating they chose in the past is air polluting and heightens the risk of disease and early death for themselves, their families, and their near neighbors, as well as contributing to hastening climate change without any women in the household having to say we are not buying it? Can the men themselves, who appear to the editor of Rozep based on the methods of advertising to their base by the wood-burning industry to be the majority of those who buy and stock and use wood-burning stoves, understand that wood stoves create health and life denying air pollution? Can the men themselves understand that heat pumps that work down to 40 degrees below zero and double as air conditioners are within their economic reach, because U.S. federal heat pump rebates of up to $8,000 based on a sliding income scale are available at least until the end of 2025? Can the men themselves understand that U.S. states are stepping up to offer their own heat pump rebates that extend beyond 2025? Can the men themselves understand that there are still tax incentives to use clean methods of home heating extending past 2025? Or will advertising by the wood stove industry continue to compel men and women alike to buy wood for burning and buy and use wood stoves, despite overwhelming scientific and medical evidence that by doing so they imperil the health and lives of their families and themselves, as well as their near neighbors and cumulatively the world? To counter wood stove industry advertising, the argument could be made that to be a real man, in the opinion of the editor of Rozep, you protect your family from harm. What are the inconvenient facts about wood burning? The eco-design wood stove, the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, emit 2.8 times the PM 2.5 and CO2 pollution as coal burning. The eco-design wood stove, the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, emit 450 times the PM 2.5 pollution as natural gas burning. PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size is the perfect size to infiltrate the human lung, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Even if venting directs air pollution outside the house, the air pollution travels to the yards and infiltrates the homes of near neighbors of an indoor residential wood burner. PM 2.5 also hastens climate change, and CO2 from wood burning also hastens climate change. If in fact the editor of Rozep is wrong in her assumptions about wood stove use by men and women above, and an equal or more percentage of women compared to men burn wood for home heating or cooking, the editor makes an additional rash assumption that some women, and perhaps an equal number of men, choose, have, and use a wood-burning stove or a wood-burning fireplace because of the aesthetics. The editor of Rozep can point to an actual statistic to base this assumption on. In London, England, a study showed that wood-burning appliances were used inside homes by the wealthy more often than not, and not for economic reasons, but more often than not, primarily for aesthetics. As a solution to the problem of most indoor residential wood burning, the editor of Rozep suggests ditching the wood stove or blocking the chimney of the fireplace to keep out vermin and retain heat from new modern methods of home heating, such as heat pumps. The editor of Rozep suggests converting the firebox to a place for a saltwater aquarium. For seahorses, the possibilities are endless, but if the mantelpiece of a fireplace is retained, it could keep its aesthetically pleasing spot in the home as a place to hang a flat-screen TV above, for example, without danger of melting the TV. Or a former firebox could be converted to a bookshelf, a place for toys for children, etc. Or a flat-screen TV in the fire chamber itself could play visions of horribly air-polluting house fires continuously to provide the desired ambience and aesthetics. A disused firebox could project Halloween-like graphics, aesthetically Halloween, resembling when a wood fire in actuality gets out of control inside a House continuing to burn with excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates of 501c3 nonprofit organization Substack letters from an American Heather Cox Richardson November 25, 2025. Last week, a poll conducted for Global EV Alliance made up of electric vehicle driver associations around the world found that 52% of Americans would avoid buying a Tesla for political reasons. Tesla chief executive officer Elon Musk pumped more than $290 million into electing Trump and supporting the Republicans in 2024 after taking office. Trump named Musk to head the Department of Government Efficiency, a group that slashed through government programs and fired civil servants. In response, protesters organized Tesla takedowns, gathering at Tesla dealerships to urge people not to buy the vehicles. The protests spread internationally. In March, Trump advertised Teslas on the South lawn of the White House to try to help slumping sales to no avail. In September, consumers flexed their muscle over parent company the Disney suspension of the Jimmy Kimmel Late Night Talk Show on ABC after pressure from Federal Communications Commission Chair Brendan Carr over the Kimmel comments following the murder of right-wing activist Charlie Kirk. About 3 million subscribers canceled Disney Plus in September, while Hulu, which Disney owns, lost 4.1 million monthly. Cancellations previously had averaged 1.2 million and 1.9 million respectively. While not all of those cancellations could be chalked up to consumer anger over the Kimmel suspension, Disney subscription prices went up at around the same time. Kimmel was back on the air in 5 days in the late 1800s to recreate a web of social responsibility. In the growing industrial cities, young middle-class women moved into ethnic working-class neighborhoods to minister to the people living there. Jane Addams, who opened the Hull House in Chicago in 1889, rejected the idea of a nation divided by haves and have-nots. She believed that all individuals were fundamentally interconnected. Hull House was soberly opened on the theory that the dependence of classes on each other is reciprocal. Addams later wrote, the people who lived in these settlement houses dedicated themselves to filing down the sharp edges of industrialization with its tenement housing, low wages, long hours, child labor, and disease, along with polluted air and water and unregulated food. Today, the relationship between consumption and reform has taken on heightened meaning after the Tesla and the Disney boycotts. The day after Thanksgiving is the start of the holiday shopping season, and like their predecessors of a century ago, reformers are focusing on the power of consumers to push back on the policies of the Trump administration, launching a campaign they call We Ain't Buying It. 2. Wisconsin State Supreme Court orders review of Wisconsin congressional maps before 2026 midterms. Rozep view. The editor of Rozep lives in Wisconsin, and this news shows the removal of gerrymandering in Wisconsin is taking a slow pathway to remedy, but that pathway will inexorably lead to removal of gerrymandering in Wisconsin before the 2026 elections, if there is any justice in Wisconsin. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Guardian, November 26, 2025. The Wisconsin elected Supreme Court issued 2 orders on Tuesday, appointing a pair of 3-judge panels to hear 2 lawsuits that argue the battleground Wisconsin congressional maps must be redrawn before the 2026 elections because they unconstitutionally favor Republicans. The 2 lawsuits filed in July by liberal law firms come after failed attempts to redraw the Wisconsin congressional districts, which are currently skewed in favor of Republicans, so that the closely divided state is currently represented in Congress by 6 Republicans and just 2 Democrats. The minority conservative justices of the court criticized the creation of the 3-judge panels as a partisan ploy designed to benefit Democrats. It is unclear whether new districts could be ordered in time for the 2026 midterms, as some Democrats want both of the pending redistricting cases in Wisconsin argue that the Wisconsin congressional maps, first adopted in 2011, are an unconstitutional gerrymander favoring Republicans. Law firms that brought the pending cases in Wisconsin had argued over objections from Republicans that the cases should be heard by 3-judge panels as required under a 2011 law passed by a Republican-controlled legislature and signed by a Republican Governor Scott Walker. Any decisions by those panels can be appealed to the Wisconsin Supreme Court, which is now controlled 4-3 by justices elected with the support of Democrats. 3 headlines. The New York Times, November 26, 2025. Affordability. Retail earnings show resilience of shoppers, but some stores struggle. The New York Times affordability SNAP recipients plan Thanksgiving down to their last cent. The New York Times artificial intelligence opinion AI is marketing itself as the anti-AI. The New York Times Democrat. New York City in City Hall. House cleaning. Mamdani asks 179 Adams staff members to quit. The New York Times Democrats say FBI is investigating them over illegal orders. Video. The New York Times food stuffing stuffed mushrooms recipe. France crime. Nicolas Sarkozy, former French president, loses corruption appeal. The New York Times Georgia Republican opinion. Has Marjorie Taylor Greene really seen the light? The New York Times Germany. Old divides of East and West haunt the newest arrivals in Germany. The New York Times Math for fun opinion. The elements that define our world. The New York Times Medicine and Science. Women postpartum prescription of GLP-1 drugs has increased sharply. Study finds. The New York Times memes internet opinion. Larry Buschert posted a Charlie Kirk meme. He went to jail for 37 days. The New York Times memes internet. Trump elevates once fringe meme makers to the mainstream. The New York Times Mexico. Russian disinformation comes to Mexico seeking to rupture U.S. ties. The New York Times Michigan and Wisconsin sports. A journey to the Michigan Upper Peninsula where the Lions and Packers draw the lines. The Athletic movie. Wake Up Dead Man. A Knives Out mystery review. Forgive Them Father. The New York Times movie's fatherhood on film. Dad is having a rough time on screen this season. The New York Times Nature Bird. He is beautiful, but he has a huge blind spot. The New York Times New York crime influencer dined and dashed at fine restaurants owners and police say. The New York Times Nigeria woman. Her face is on a Nigerian banknote, but her work is rarely seen. The New York Times RFK Jr. lack of knowledge of medicine and science deal making for weight loss drugs to begin with distraction from vaccine denial. U.S. announces negotiated prices for 15 drugs under Medicare. The New York Times Russia. The 2026 Putin calendar is here. A man for every season. The New York Times Trump and Fed. Kevin Hassett reportedly becomes front runner for Fed chair. The New York Times Trump donors. Trump administration list of transition donors. The New York Times Trump lawsuits for personal vengeance opinion. Mark Kelly is being Investigated for telling the truth, the New York Times Trump lawsuits for personal vengeance. The Trump retribution push has expanded even as it hits legal barriers. The New York Times TV Seth Meyers based Trump for his rambling turkey pardon. The New York Times Ukraine, the question hanging over peace talks, what will Putin accept? The New York Times United Kingdom, you start getting desperate how it feels to be young and jobless in Britain. The New York Times United Kingdom, Britain raises taxes by more than $30 billion in tougher economic outlook. The New York Times United Kingdom, the art of the Britain Windrush generation has never felt more relevant. The New York Times Venezuela Nobel Peace Prize winner pushes false claims about Maduro. The New York Times Venezuela, what the Pentagon attack videos reveal about the boat strikes at sea. The New York Times Virginia crime sports, missing high school coach Travis Turner facing charges. Officials say the New York Times Virginia, the race for the Mikey Sherrill House seat is on, and it is crowded. The New York Times. For headlines, the New York Times November 25th, 2025 affordability, food, how much will Thanksgiving dinner cost? It depends on whom you ask. The New York Times affordability, Trump economy, market volatility underscores epic buildup of global risk. The New York Times Argentina, Bolsonaro to start serving 27-year prison sentence over coup plot. The New York Times aviation, artificial intelligence, what is agentic AI, and would you trust it to book a flight? The New York Times aviation, Rosette view. Trump distraction from problems with air traffic controllers. From the article headline, will dressing up fix flying? The New York Times business, food, how New York can protect its street vendors. The New York Times California Democrat Eric Swalwell files suit against Bill Pulte claiming privacy law violations. The New York Times Canada, the Trump trade war has Canadians elbows up for homegrown wine. The New York Times China and Japan with Trump in the middle are in a showdown. The New York Times Democrat with a small D. Joan Branson, the wife of 35 years of Richard Branson, dies at 80. The New York Times Democrats short on cash. DNC took out $15 million loan in October. The New York Times Democrats Trump updates. Democrats accuse president of using FBI to intimidate and harass Congress. The New York Times Europe Internet, the European chip dreams confront business realities. The New York Times food opinion, Thanksgiving is a celebration of American rebirth. The New York Times France defense of Ukraine army chief says France must accept losing our children, igniting uproar. The New York Times France, 4 more arrested in connection with Louvre heist. The New York Times Kenya, Ritz-Carlton is sued over luxury safari camp in Kenya. The New York Times Massachusetts and New York City Democrats. Boston Mayor Wu questions the Mamdani approach to meeting with Trump. The New York Times Math for fun, how a puzzle about fractions got brain scans rolling. The New York Times Math for fun, mapping how the brain senses what goes on inside the body. The New York Times Math for fun, the moon was an inside job. The New York Times Math for fun to meld AI with supercomputers. National labs are picking up the pace. The New York Times Medicine and Science, sleep apnea linked to Parkinson's disease. New study finds. The New York Times Medicine and Science study finds mental health benefit to 1-week social media break. The New York Times Michigan, in the Michigan Upper Peninsula, locals fight for the right tonight. The New York Times Elon Musk puts Trump feud behind him and tiptoes back into politics. The New York Times New York housing, New York leads effort to stop plan that could cut housing for 170,000. The New York Times New York housing, the new solution for the NYC housing crisis, single room apartments. The New York Times New York House of Representatives open seat, who is running to replace Jerry Nadler? 10 people and counting. The New York Times Oregon natural gas line cut off, threat of fuel shortages in Northwest prompts emergency decrease. The New York Times RFK Jr. lack of knowledge of medicine and science, second in command at CDC leads with vaccine denial. Doctor critical of vaccines quietly appointed as CDC second in command. The New York Times RFK Jr. lack of knowledge of science and medicine, vaccine denial. Is it cold, flu, or COVID? What to know about symptoms and testing. The New York Times RFK Jr. lack of knowledge of science and medicine. Health insurance affordability, once foes of Obamacare, some Republicans push to protect it. The New York Times RFK Jr. lack of knowledge of science and medicine, vaccine denial, second cousin of opinion. The Tatiana Schlossberg profile encourage. The New York Times Rosette view as second cousin is defined as the offspring of the first cousin of your parent. Tatiana Schlossberg is the second cousin of RFK Jr. Tatiana Schlossberg is the daughter of Caroline Kennedy, who has criticized RFK Jr. as an embarrassment at the same time as she has announced her terminal cancer diagnosis at the age of 35. RFK Jr. lack of knowledge of medicine and science, healthcare insurance denial. When the GOP Medicaid cuts arrive, these hospitals will be hit hardest. The New York Times Science and Medicine. New studies of dog DNA shed light on pets and people. The New York Times Syria minority Alawites protest in Syria after sectarian attacks. The New York Times Trump affordability opinion. Trump falls short of his populist rhetoric. The New York Times Trump aging, signs of fatigue. Trump faces realities of aging in office. The New York Times Trump lawsuits for personal vengeance. Justice Department whistleblower joins legal group battling the Trump administration. The New York Times Trump Musk actions fallout. Fired employees say government will not rehire them after shutdown. The New York Times Trump nuclear weapons testing. The forgotten nuclear weapon tests that Trump may seek to revive. The New York Times Trump share internet. Trump administration is taking billions in stakes in firms like Intel. The New York Times Ukraine, how the peace plan looks to Ukraine and Russia. The New York Times Ukraine, Republicans fight with the Trump team over Ukraine talks. The New York Times Ukraine, Russia strikes Ukraine and signals resistance to amended peace plan. The New York Times Ukraine, what to know about the Trump peace plan for Russia and Ukraine. The New York Times United Kingdom BBC chair tries to calm political firestorm over Trump. Edit. The New York Times United Kingdom Rosette view. Keir Starmer gets popular with schoolchildren, maybe not their parents. From the article headline, even the UK Prime Minister cannot resist 6-7. The New York Times Washington DC Mayor Muriel Bowser says she will not run for a 4th term. The New York Times 5 headlines. The Guardian November 26, 2025 Australia nature, a moment that changed me. I adopted a koala, he bit me. And I remembered something important about myself. Wildlife. The Guardian Bahrain to argue at UK Supreme Court it has immunity from surveillance claims. Bahrain. The Guardian business computer maker HP to cut up to 6,000 jobs by 2028 as it turns to AI. Hewlett Packard. The Guardian COP30 Fossil fuel giants finally in the crosshairs. COP30 avoids total failure with last-ditch deal. COP30, The Guardian. COP30, Saudi Arabia, US, Russia, and Saudi Arabia create axis of obstruction as COP30 sputters out. COP30, The Guardian. France women. I did not even know this type of attack existed. More than 200 women alleged drugging by senior French civil servant, rape, and sexual assault. The Guardian. Furniture. Human interest. My petty gripe. Bar stools. Have we not suffered enough? Life and style. The Guardian. Furniture. Human interest. The death of the living room. It is hard to invite people over. Not everyone wants to sit on a bed. Homes. The Guardian. Georgia. Republican. Departing Marjorie Taylor Greene. The canary in the coal mine for Republicans, says former House Speaker. Human interest. How to be a good party host or guest. Christmas. The Guardian. Math for fun. Study claims to provide first direct evidence of dark matter science. The Guardian. Music. United Kingdom. The world is such a nice thing. Matt Maltese, the songwriter for the Pop A-List and Shakespeare music. The Guardian. Nature. Whales. It is heartbreaking how 30 captive beluga whales have become pawns in row over animal cruelty. Canada. The Guardian. Nature. Narwhals. The narwhals stop calling. How the noise from ships is silencing wildlife in the Arctic. Whales. The Guardian. New York City. Mamdani, Democrat. New is Queens the new political bellwether of America? Michael Massing. The Guardian. Taiwan plans extra $40 billion in defense spending to counter the China intensifying threats. Taiwan. The Guardian. Trump ally relative. The mother of a Caroline Leavitt nephew detained by U.S. immigration agents. Trump administration. The Guardian. Trump Epstein fallout. If the Epstein survivors do not receive justice, that is a ticking time bomb. Formerly Eve Ensler. The Guardian. Trump Epstein fallout. Virginia Giuffre died in Australia without a valid will. Now the legal battle can resume. Australia. News. The Guardian. Trump language gobbled goop. Trump talks Turkey and trashes another presidential tradition. Donald Trump. The Guardian. Trump lawsuits for personal vengeance. Trump once again steps up attacks on TV networks as he threatens to revoke licenses. Trump administration. The Guardian. Trump redistricting attempts. Trump push for new congressional maps meets resistance from both parties. U.S. politics. The Guardian. Ukraine drone operators are hunted. You feel it from your first day. The female pilots on the Ukraine frontline drones. Military. The Guardian. Ukraine Americans helping Ukrainian war effort decry U.S. peace plan as a betrayal by Trump. Ukraine. The Guardian. Ukraine. Disarray over leaked U.S.-Russia peace plan is ideal scenario for Putin. Vladimir Putin. The Guardian. Ukraine. Putin trying to negotiate an end to Ukraine war as he cannot win it on battlefield, says the EU. Kalas. Europe. Ukraine. European Union President Ursula von der Leyen warns against carving up of Ukraine amid crunch. U.S.-led talks. Ukraine. The Guardian. Ukraine, who leaked the Witkoff call advising Kremlin on how to get Trump on side. Trump administration. The Guardian. United Kingdom. Rosep view. The only thing that matter is that they not burn wood and relegate themselves to the idiot corner. From the article headline, it fully changed my life. How young rewilders transformed a farm and began a movement. Rewilding. The Guardian. United Kingdom. Sports. Teenage dreams are never practical, but where would we be without the people who chase theirs? Adrian Chiles. The Guardian. United Kingdom. Human interest. Why on earth would Meghan still want to be called the Duchess of Sussex? Arwa Madawi. The Guardian. Venezuela. Is U.S. preparing to attack Venezuela? And how has Maduro regime responded? Venezuela. The Guardian. Venezuela. Trump threatens the Venezuela. Maduro with the easy way or the hard way. Nicolas Maduro. The Guardian. Venezuela. U.S. Justice Department memo about boat strikes diverges from Trump narrative. Trump administration. The Guardian. 6 headlines. The Guardian. November 25, 2025. Affordability. Rosep view insult to working poor? From the article headline, the Campbell's Soup executive called its products food for poor people. Lawsuit alleges U.S. News. The Guardian. Animation. Nature. Rosep view criticized as no better than artificial intelligence. From the article headline, Zootropolis 2 review just about passable family comedy. Sequel might as well be AI-generated movies. The Guardian. Architecture. Women. From Byzantine cottages to Volvic stadiums, the brilliance of female architects' art and design. The Guardian. Argentina. Jair Bolsonaro ordered to start 27-year prison term for plotting Brazil coup. Jair Bolsonaro. The Guardian. COP30. U.S. Russia and Saudi Arabia create axis of obstruction as COP30 sputters out. COP30. The Guardian. Democrats. We will not be bullied. House Democrats involved in video to troops confirm. FBI is seeking to question the medicine and science. I got an epidural for all 3 of my births. None of them worked as expected. Well, actually, the Guardian. Movie Trump connected. Rush Hour 4 in the works at Paramount after reports of Trump intervening. Paramount Pictures. The Guardian. Music. Rosep view 9th episode released in 2025. From the article headline, The Long and Winding Road. Stuart McKinney on why our opinions about the Beatles keep changing. The Beatles. The Guardian. Nature. Tortoise. Queen of the zoo. Grandma Tortoise, who lived through 2 world wars, dies aged 141. San Diego. The Guardian. Nature. Hippo, the oldest known pygmy hippo in the world, turns 52. Anyone who meets her falls in love. U.S. News. The Guardian. New York crime food influencer known as Dine and Dash Diva arrested in Brooklyn. U.S. crime. The Guardian. Ohio Republican J.D. Vance exploited a brawl to paint Cincinnati as crime-ridden. The fallout has divided the city. Ohio. The Guardian. Religion. Is British politics immune to U.S. style right-wing Christianity? We are about to find out. Lamarna Ash. The Guardian. RFK Jr. lack of knowledge of medicine and science. Second in command at CDC leads with vaccine denial. Louisiana official who called COVID-19 vaccines dangerous given key CDC post-Trump administration. The Guardian. Romania. Near Ukraine. NATO scrambles jets as Russian drones make deepest incursion into Romania. The Guardian. South Africa. Ukraine. The daughter of Jacob Zuma is accused of tricking men into fighting for Russia and Ukraine. South Africa. The Guardian. Trump pardons. Trump may have inadvertently issued mass pardon for 2020 voter fraud. Experts say Donald Trump. The Guardian. Trump Vance fallout. Republican J.D. Vance might want to run in 2028. But does he have a Palantir-shaped problem? Arwa Madawi. The Guardian. Rosep view AI overview what began as a routine Democratic talking point focused on the ties of Vance to one Palantir founder. founder Peter Thiel, who mentored Vance early in his career and poured $15 million into the J.D. Vance 2022 Senate run, has now become a source of tension within the Trump political coalition. Steve Bannon, Joe Rogan, and Roger Stone have expressed unease about the Palantir growing footprint in federal agencies. Stone even said he warned Vance directly that his biggest fear for the country is Palantir, citing concerns about futuristic large-scale government surveillance. The definition of a Palantir is a magical crystal ball from the J.R.R. Tolkien book The Lord of the Rings. The Palantir in the Tolkien book is used for communication and to see events in other parts of the fictional world. TV Seth Meyers on the Trump meeting with Mamdani. I have never seen Trump this smitten before. Late-night TV. Roundup. The Guardian. Ukraine. Dan Driscoll envoy pushing Ukraine peace plan belies Vance influence. Ukraine. The Guardian. Ukraine 7 killed in Kyiv as Russia hits the Ukraine energy sector with missiles and drones. Ukraine. The Guardian. Ukraine Trump envoy reportedly told Kremlin official that Ukraine must cede land for peace deal. Trump administration. The Guardian. Ukraine. U.S. optimistic over Ukraine peace deal talks, but a few delicate details remain. Ukraine. The Guardian. United Kingdom Reef lecturer accuses BBC of cowardice for censoring his remarks on Trump. BBC. The Guardian.
Red Green Fox here. The quick red green fox jumped over the barriers to clean air. Red Green Fox here. Ready to sing to you the names of the 2025 major wood-burning biomass industry subsidy opponents. 1. Biofuel Watch. 2. Bulkley Valley Stewardship Coalition of British Columbia, Canada. 3. Comite Schoen Luft, which means Beautiful Air Committee in German. 4. Dogwood Alliance. 5. Equity Group Foundation, nicknamed EGF. 6. Environmental Paper Network, nicknamed EPN. 7. Natural Resources Defense Council, nicknamed NRDC. 8. Prakaunia Narzek Wissenskip Istet, which means Workshop for All Beings in Polish. 9. Rachel Carson Council. 10. Solutions for Our Climate, nicknamed SFOC.
Cat's corner strategy with Tiger and Leone. Saying the quiet part out loud. Roar. Hi, I am Tiger. Our human asked us to get up from our naps and start Cat's Corner strategy with Tiger and Leone. She gave us a list of internet allies, which we will post for her here.
Hi, I am Leone. It is better for your mental fitness to go to these websites than to go to bro sites for advice. Substack letters from an American Heather Cox Richardson. Substack your local epidemiologist. The Midas Touch. The Guardian. The New York Times.
One introduction. Rosette view. The United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only for home building and furniture building. For just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry, and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree. But it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen, and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lung, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom. The Eco-Design Wood Stove International Convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. Rosette view. Purple air. PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary.